Ian Lindsay of Lindsay Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
Peter and Dave, they're on the mic, so right. Join the ride, it's gonna feel just right.
Welcome back to the Pulse Community Podcast. I'm Peter McCulley, and the pace of life here on mid-Vancouver Island continues to pick up as what has been a gentle spring starts to show hints of summer, filling patios, campgrounds, and calendars.
And I'm Dave Graham. I'll be honest, Peter, after last week's conversation about Bigfoot, I might need to rethink this whole idea about how I spend my time out of doors from here on.
Well, Dave, I think you'll probably win the lottery before you actually run into Bigfoot.
Well, let's just say that I'm becoming hyper aware of the potential. So now my walks in the woods are made with, well, all my senses on full, tuned into my environment, smelling and listening intensely. This is starting to sound a lot like forest bathing. Anyway, I think situational awareness is never more important than when out in the wilds. But I'll admit I might have overdone it.
Oh, did you have some kind of an event?
Yeah, this is kind of embarrassing, but I was in the woods with my camera recently, heard some rustling behind some bushes. Well, long story short, let's just say I was over-startled by a creature of the forest the other evening.
Overstartled, huh? What kind of creature was this?
It turned out to be a robin, but it was very large. My point being, when there's rustling noises, well, you don't know what it is until you do. And then if it's a worst case scenario, well, then what do? So I'm just saying here, awareness and preparedness. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, then. But, in the Mid-Island region, if you averaged out all the instances of injury, or worse, from an encounter in the wilds, the odds of it happening are vanishingly thin. One of our guests today probably knows where to find some statistics on that, Dave. Sarah Ronald is the manager and curator of the Parksville Museum at Craig Heritage Park. With 8 buildings and a growing calendar of events, the museum has become one of the most vibrant community gathering spots on the island. They have Railway Day, a storytelling festival, and a summer concert series.
Every Thursday in July this year is booked for a concert. They find the acts, they book them, and then it falls to me and hopefully a summer student to do the day of activation, set it up. Because we don't have seating out there, it's always bring your lawn chair, and we provide tents and bar service and all of the day of stuff. It's a bit of work, honestly. We run our own box office, which is great. So people come in person or they buy them online once they're live. And we always, in the summer, have so much going on. It's just one of many activities that we're promoting, and they've been really successful. People love the concerts.
A concert every Thursday in July in a Heritage Village courtyard with a bar. Actually, I have been there for a performance before. It's a wonderful setting on a summer evening. And it's also nice to know that you can get home before it gets dark when the big forest creatures start moving about.
You didn't get the nickname Dave Safety First Graham for nothing, did you, Dave? Sean Thomas is a 24-year-old Vancouver-born singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, and voice actor. Sean graduated from Berklee College of Music's online program while he was co-producing Debbie Gibson's first album in 2 decades. He's worked as a music director, a writer, mixer, and producer for Joey McIntyre, New Kids on the Block, and New Edition. Sean is now releasing his own music independently.
When I'm in a writing session or doing a production for something, I'll often just take a back seat or even just keep asking questions until they bring it out themselves, because I feel like it's one thing for me to suggest ideas and things that they could do, but when it comes from them and it's an idea that they thought of, it's more inspired.
Sean co-produced a Debbie Gibson album at 20 years old. That seems ambitious. How many of us can claim to that kind of accomplishment at that age? Let's see, when I was 20, I was in college attending some of my classes and all of the pub nights. Oh, good times. But that's ancient history.
We're looking forward to an upcoming podcast when we'll talk with Ron Thorogood. He'll tell us about the Parksville Car and Bike Show planned for the community park in July.
Cars and bikes. That sounds good. Hey, I should enter my bike. I'd enter the car, but it would take longer to wash. Oh, wait, they're probably talking motorbikes, aren't they? Okay, never mind.
Kyle McKerney will be here ahead of his appearances at Sunfest, Rock the Range, and Boots and Boats Festival.
Plenty of people will know the name Eva Hilborn. Eva has touched an ever-growing list of people with her program that she started. It's called The Wonderful World of Books. Now, aside from helping children's literacy, Eva wanted something to keep her busy in her late 90s. Eva is now 99, and she'll be here soon to tell her story on the Pulse Community Podcast.
The Aerosmith Community Recreation Association is hosting the 35th Annual Coombs Community Picnic on Friday, June the 5th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Coombs Fairgrounds. Come meet your neighbors and enjoy live music, field games, educational displays, and free food at the concession while supplies last. Bring your lawn chair and make it an evening at this entirely free event. We hope to see you there.
At Thrifty Foods, we love to help nonprofits, charities, and schools. Our Thrifty Foods Smile Card bulk program allows organizations to immediately save up to 6% on the purchase of Smile Cards in bulk, allowing you to keep more money in your organization's pockets. Ask for details at Thrifty Foods in Parksville.
Stay tuned to the podcast and our website and social pages for our upcoming giveaways. We have a summer of giveaways planned.
Oh, I don't want to boast, but I think we've outdone ourselves here. We have tickets to all the big shows. Wow, we must know people. There will be tickets for April Wine, Beach Fest Rocks, Blue Rodeo, and if you head to our website, Facebook, or Instagram page, you'll find the links to enter for the Canadian Bash ticket giveaway.
We have many shows to look forward to, including those coming to the quaint Heritage Village setting at the Parksville Museum. Here's Marilyn to introduce our first guest.
Sarah Ronald is the manager and curator of the Parksville Museum, located at Craig Heritage Park in Parksville. As the keeper of the community's stories, Sarah oversees 8 heritage buildings, a rich archive spanning the surrounding communities, and a growing calendar of events that have turned the museum into a vibrant community gathering spot, including Railway Day, Storytelling Festival, and live concert series in the Heritage Village courtyard.
Sarah, pleasure to meet you and welcome to the Pulse podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Before you got here, we want to find out where you were. You've been here, what, a couple of years now?
It'll be 2 years this summer. Prior to that, I was in the Lower Mainland, primarily in the Tri-Cities area. I was a theater coordinator for the city of Port Moody for 18 years.
Now, here we are, Parksville Museum, where the tagline is bringing history to life, and you have 8 heritage buildings on the Craig Heritage Park grounds to work with. Can you give us an overview of what a visitor to the grounds will find?
The first building most people encounter is an E&N Railway House. It's a history of the E&N train on the island. Then as you follow through, you'll pass a few outdoor displays. There's a forestry exhibit that talks about the Mount Aerosmith Biosphere region and forestry on the island. Then you'll go into the center courtyard, I would call, and there is a old fire hall. And inside we've got an old fire truck as well, which actually does get moved out for the parade once a year, and all sorts of old tools, firefighting equipment. In the summer months on Saturdays, we've got our blacksmith who's here, and he is Island Blacksmith. His name's Dave, and he comes on site, so a lot of people come by Saturdays to come see him. We've got our schoolhouse, so that's the Montrose Schoolhouse, which is a building that was relocated to the grounds here, and you go in, it's set up just like an old schoolhouse, got sound effects. People write their locations where they're from on their blackboard, and it gives you an idea of what it was like to be a teacher. We've got one small post office. You can go inside and see the letters that were written. We've got the Macmillan House. All the buildings were relocated here. So it's an older building with a little small writing studio, a kid's room, a bedroom, kitchen, living room. Gives you an idea of what it would have been like to live in there. And then you keep walking around the grounds, another post office, which has some panels outside of it that kind of talk about how people used to get their mail from Lasqueti Island, where the postman would light a fire on the beach when their mail arrived, so they'd know to come over to get their mail. Craig's Cottage, which people still come today to the museum, and they're so thrilled to see it because it's set up like it used to be, where they would vacation there in the summers. And then the very last building is our Heritage Church. 1911 it was built in. Currently under construction. It'll be done by the summer for sure. We host events and concerts and all sorts of community events in there. Then we have our main hall, which is the building that we're in right now, and it's got a wide range of displays, and we've been starting to do art exhibits in here as well.
That's quite a spectrum. On top of the fact that the museum covers, of course, not just Parksville, but Arrington, Coombs, Nanoose Bay, French Creek, Hilliers, Lasqueti. Does that make your job harder or easier to encompass all of that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm still pretty new to the island, so I feel like I'm a tourist like a lot of people who come here. I learn actually a lot from the locals who come here. However, I can say we've got in our archives the only print version of the newspapers for the area from 1948 onwards. So we have a lot of people coming in to get research done or just look up even addresses, things like old phone books. We have these. So people come in, they want to find an address of a building that's no longer existing. We can go through these old phone books and find them. It really comes down to what the question is and how specific it is of an answer they need. We do have a couple of volunteer archivists who actually come from that background, so we're really lucky to have them here. So they actually are more knowledgeable than me in getting the data and finding the paths to answers for most people.
Have you experienced or heard tell of an emotional or some kind of extraordinary event where someone came in searching for something and suddenly connected with something that was profound, perhaps?
Every day we have people coming in. Actually, I've created what's called a storyteller festival because where I sit in the main hall, people often go through the exhibits and all the different buildings, and they come in and they talk to me and they tell me all of the memories that have been brought up. And I thought, such a perfect space. I'm basically like a sponge taking in people's stories. And there's so much history in this area. And people have stories, but also just things that are triggered. Like they might see a lamp or something so simple that all of a sudden they're like transported in their mind back to when they were kids. So it's such a rich place for these types of experiences. I can say one of the great things with the people coming in to research, like I had a guy in, he wanted to come and take a look at a specific year of newspapers, and he's a retired older gentleman now, but his family didn't believe him that when he was a teenager he got arrested. He remembers it was all in the paper. So he came in to find copies of the paper that showed him getting in trouble with the courts. And then, so he found it. And I don't think my kids like it, but my grandkids will love it. So he's able to take photos and he's got this as part of his record. It's pretty neat.
That really brings a museum to life. It's suddenly more than just a bunch of dusty old artifacts.
I like to think about all of the items we have here. Even if you think back to who made these items, how many people are involved in that, how many people were involved in shipping the item to the store, and then somebody sold that item, somebody bought that item, and then there's all this history with each item. And we all have experiences with things that we covet or that we love, like something that's precious to us. So a lot of the items in here, in some regard, were precious to somebody. And you can tell. You can see these stories. Some of the items we do have the history of, but there's a lot of things here we don't. Those ones are interesting, too, because you don't necessarily know what it was. You can only imagine it. So it piques your curiosity.
Railway Day has become one of the museum's signature annual events. Any idea what it is about trains and fascination with such things?
I'm not a train person, and when I started this job, they told me, yep, you're going to have to work on the railway event. And I thought, it's just the same as any other event, really. There's the same logistics, but these guys, there's a young group, too, that's coming up that are keen on the railroad. There's something about the model trains. There's something about the interest in transportation. I'm thinking about this event because a lot of the guys are getting to retirement age. It's a lot of work for them to bring all these model trains in just for one day, even though they're so passionate. It's a lot of work. So fast forward 10, 15 years, what is this event? Maybe it's about the history of transportation. Maybe that's where we go. It's the trains, but it could be horse and buggy. So it's like there's a lot of ways to build it. But right now, people just love the old transport. The thing with the train is that before the train existed, it would take days just to get over to Victoria. And then all of a sudden the train comes in. And now what would have taken you days is a day trip. I think of it like the internet. Before the internet, you had to go to the library, you had to go look up everything in the library and all the system, and it took a long time. Whereas now it's like you snap your fingers and you're there.
Now, you've done community events like the Halloween trick-or-treat night through the Heritage Village. And I'm wondering, you're juggling lots of things to begin with, aside from just maintaining the basic features that are here as a museum. And how do you find balancing the fun with the serious work that's accomplished here?
We've got a board of directors, and they're looking at big picture stuff. So I'm working really hard on funding and grant writing and the things that we need to keep these buildings going. I'm lucky because I get to get involved in some of that, but I'm also here on the day-to-day. So I'm the only staff member here year-round. I'm the one who gets to engage with the community. When I first started in the spring of 2024, a lot of people were asking about the farmers market. I was new here, so I'm not going to make big changes. But this year, I'm bringing in an artisan market. I heard it. I'm bringing in the way that we can handle it in our capacity. And same with the Railway Day, actually, as we just talked about, was one of those events where it was like the community wanted it, so we did it. We've got concerts and all sorts of events that we're doing. A lot of them are just about community and creating unique opportunities for people to learn and connect with other people. So we have more and more artists and artisans that we're involving here. And the great thing about working with artists is not only do they create work, but they love sharing. They're kind of like the railroaders, very passionate about what they're doing. And it's that passion that we're trying to get. Every time you come to the museum, you can have a different experience. Even if the displays look the same, you've got a different layer here for you to bump into new people or new experiences. So that's where my focus is, building community, but also bringing in more people. Again, I'll refer to the artists, but even musicians, and I've got this storyteller festival that I'm coming up with. It's like that's going to have literary artists, spoken word, we're going to have theater groups, concerts, all sorts of amazing creative people who really value this unique venue, which is our big thing. We have a really cool space. Let's activate it.
I was wondering how to phrase a question around how you keep a museum fresh, but I think you just answered it.
Yeah, I think about museum a lot like libraries, where libraries were for a specific function for a long time to go research and you find the things that, as we were talking about before, but they've had to evolve. So creating community and creating resources for people and finding unique ways to engage with the community is really important. And that's how I think you keep a museum like this relevant. There are other elements to the museum. There are researchers in the area who say they're doing digs and they need a temporary space to hold whatever they find until they go back to the headquarters, wherever they're from. Somewhere along the way, prior to my time, we've been registered as a holding space for these types of materials. So now and then we'll get a call from a researcher and you're noted as a holding space, and it's, oh, okay, we're going to create a spot in the back for this temporary, whatever dig they're doing, whatever they're looking for, and to hold on to these until they're finished. Yeah, it's a really interesting blend of uses here.
Last summer, you drew a 231-square hopscotch course down the pathway through the museum grounds. It's a wonderfully unexpected thing for a history museum to do. Where do these ideas come from? Is that back to the board again?
I can take credit for all the really cool things here. That was me. I had a summer student last year, so that was just one of the many things that we kind of brainstormed to come up with. And we actually got up to the point where it was over 300 hops. So Parksville's longest hopscotch. And of course, it was drawn with chalk because I didn't know at the time if we could paint it or not. So maybe one day we can paint it. But so you come in and you see a little sign at the entry, and then parents love it because the kids immediately start hopping. And by the time they get into the middle of the grounds, they're exhausted, which is good. When they complete it or say that they've completed and they come in, we give them a certificate that says Parksville's longest hopscotch. We write their name on it. It's really cool. We had adults doing it too, of course, because they wanted to take home the little tourist certificate with their name on it. Yeah, it was fun.
The museum has also been hosting a very impressive lineup of live music. Blues artists like Brandon Isaac Trio to classic harp performances right in the village courtyard. You've touched on already how the museum has to extend itself in order to be relevant and fresh. But being a concert promoter is a whole job for one person. How do you do it?
This comes back to the board. So we've got a committee who is really keen on bringing concerts and activating the space. So they've been primarily focused on Thursdays in July, and we've got every Thursday in July this year is booked for a concert. They find the acts, they book them, and then it falls to me and hopefully a summer student to do the day of activation, set it up. Because we don't have seating out there, it's always bring your lawn chair, and we provide tents and bar service and all of the day of stuff. It's a bit of work. work. Honestly, we run our own box office, which is great. So people come in person or they buy them online once they're live. And we always in the summer have so much going on. It's just one of many activities that we're promoting, and they've been really successful. People love the concerts.
I can attest to that. Now, let's talk about it. You started it. Let's get into some of the other events that are must-sees for this summer or other times coming for the museum.
Sure thing. The Storytelling Festival. That's going to be in June. It's going to be a couple of weeks, but it was a general call to storytellers of all backgrounds. Our call at the time of this interview is just about to close, and I've been getting a lot more applicants, but I've got definitely theater, music, literary, visual arts. There's so many people with so many unique things. So even people who want to offer workshops for the community on how to write your personal history. Or there's a fellow who applied and he does analytics of family photos to dig deeper into your family history. It's relevant to the museum, but then we also have people who are offering a generational storytelling, something they've pre-written, whether it's a story connected to the island or their family history. Theater, I think a little bit like Fringe, almost like a blend of Fringe or an arts festival. So that's me in June. We're still lining it up, but I think it'll be mid 2 weekends, potentially the first weekend of June as well, because I've got a lot more applicants. We also have a meeting space that we call, but I've been using it for art exhibits. So we have an art exhibit that'll be April through June. That's going to be under the same umbrella. And it's about the story in repetition. So it's about artists who create work in repetition and what that says about us. And that idea was just, again, thinking about our collection. And we have a lot of certain things. So people always donate, say, tin toys, for instance. Artists interpret that as well. So we had a call for artists and quite a strong response. And then we did a jury process. And now we've got, I believe it's 15 artists who will be in this show. And they're from across BC. And a lot of them will be doing talks or workshops in relation. So, for instance, we have one of them who is selected and he's from Vancouver. He does rug hooking. So he's going to offer a hooking workshop, which I'm like, this is great. And different sculptural pieces. It's cool. And then in the fall, like we have a ton of events. So you mentioned the Halloween event. We call it Witchyville Thrill. So this is one where all of the buildings have basically the little kids come in and do trick-or-treating through the buildings. But I'm going to be adding in a ton of other cool events that I'll announce later once I line them up. But an art exhibit, I want to put on a Mystic Market. That'll be an interesting fall event. Of course, in September, we do some Culture Days activities, which I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Culture Days across Canada. And it's free opportunities or largely pay what you may opportunities in all cities across Canada to come and explore arts and culture in your community. So I always put something together for that as well.
It sounds like you have, albeit a demanding, but absolutely fascinating job.
I love it. My personal background is in arts and culture, and it's like to come into a museum space was a little bit newer for me. I've been involved with museums, but not as a job. It was just volunteering. One of the things I did while I'm here is I built an artisan gift shop. And so we've got many local artisans who are now selling their work through our shop. And it's a win-win because it's supporting artists, but it's also supporting the museum, which of course it's a nonprofit. So it helps support each other in the community. It's been amazing. It's been really fun.
Thanks to Sarah Ronald for joining us. The Parksville Museum at the Craig Heritage Park is doing wonderful work keeping our community's stories alive. We encourage you to plan a visit there this summer. You'll find links and event details in our story notes at thepulsecommunity.ca.
Aha, I think I know what to do with a lot of the artifacts I found in my garage. I'm sure the museum could find a corner for some of my stuff. You know, I think it's important that children today know what an 8-track tape is, yeah? And the pocket fisherman, that's got to be a shoo-in.
Well, I don't think the museum takes personal donations of fishing rods, Dave.
Peter, this is an authentic vintage, as seen on TV, Ronco pocket fisherman circa 1972. This is our heritage of the future.
If you have someone in mind that you think we should be talking to, then please speak to us. You can reach us and leave us a voice or text message. Head to our website and click on the contact link.
We have added Vancouver Island webcam links to our website, thepulsecommunity.ca. That is aside from links to all our podcasts, events, and contests. I'm pretty confident in saying that of all the podcasts focusing on the mid-Vancouver Island region, we have the best prizes.
We do. A reminder, you can find us on Apple, Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, the TikTok, and YouTube. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, this is Keith Alessi. I'm bringing my inspirational true life story, Tomatoes Tried to Kill Me, but Banjo Saved My Life, to Shars Landing on Thursday, June 4th. It's a show that's been internationally toured, highly awarded, and sold out runs off Broadway all over the world, in Nashville, Tennessee, and Edinburgh, Scotland. You're intrigued, so what's the show about? Well, it's about tomatoes, and it's about banjos, but it's about overcoming obstacles. It's about pursuing passions. It's about forgiveness. It's about joy. It's about inspiration. And it's about possum. We're going to be donating our artist fee to this event to the Community Arts Council of the Alberini Valley. We've always donated our artist fee everywhere we've gone, and we've raised over $1.3 million to date doing so. We look forward to seeing you out there that evening.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
There's exciting news for book lovers. Fireside Books in Parksville now has a second location in Port Alberni. The Bookworm. Used books are just $5 or less. The Bookworm on the corner of Redford and Anderson opens 7 days a week from 10 to 5. Building your personal library for less. Fireside Books at 464 Island Highway East in Parksville is a book dragon's dream come true. Browse their extensive collections 7 days a week. Both locations make growing your personal library easier than ever. New and used books and so much more. Order online at firesidebooks.ca and pick up at either location. Details available online. Ask about returning books for a book credit. Fireside Books and the Bookworm. 2 locations, one amazing adventure in browsing.
Dave, the Parksville Museum has a storytelling festival this summer. Would you do that? Are you a storyteller?
Well, Peter, as a matter of fact, I believe we are all storytellers, but we're not all comfortable sharing them, let alone in front of an audience. But yeah, I have stories to tell, mostly unfinished.
Yeah, that kind of tracks.
But in terms of safety, storytelling is a pretty good activity. It's not far below napping on my list of safe things to do. And to hear storytelling in that little heritage village setting, well, you have pretty good sight lines, and you'd probably be able to hear any approaching possible threat sources. All good in my books.
You're still thinking about Bigfoot, aren't you?
Did I say anything about Sasquatch? I mean, Big Squatch? I mean, look, never mind. It's about awareness, Peter. Awareness and preparedness. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Now I want to talk about something else. Let's hear a story. It's about a man deeply immersed in his craft. Here's Marilyn.
Sean Thomas is a 24-year-old Vancouver-born singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, and actor. He is a graduate of Berklee College of Music's online program, which he completed at just 20, simultaneously co-producing Debbie Gibson's first album in 2 decades. He has since worked as a music director, live band member, writer, mixer, and producer for Joey McIntyre, New Kids on the Block, and New Edition. Sean is now releasing his own music independently, writing, recording, producing, and mixing everything himself.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Sean.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. It's nice to be here.
Siri tells me you've been writing and performing your own music since you were 5 years old. Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't do a really good job of tying my own shoes at 5.
I can't say I was pretty good at tying my own shoes at 5, too, so it's an even playing field. But first of all, I'm happy Siri knows who I am. That's pretty cool. Second of all, I've just been playing music as long as I can remember. I started piano at 5, moved on to guitar then after, and I think that first little period of discovering music wasn't as much about writing music as it was just around playing and discovering and just having as much fun with it as I could. I remember my very first song I wrote was when I was 11 years old, and it's still on my YouTube channel. It's the first video I've ever uploaded on my channel. It's called Your Love. It's cool to look back on. We did kind of like a music video. I was adamant, even at that young age, about wanting it to be cemented into something I could look back on. So yeah, that was a fun time. I wrote it about my grandmother who was diagnosed with cancer. I just had a strong connection to it. And then from then after, it was more about the creation, and I discovered production and making music on a laptop and that kind of thing. But for those kind of 5-6-ish years, it was just all about a hand on a guitar or a keyboard and just discovering how special music can be acoustically.
You were born and raised in Vancouver, homeschooled from grade 1. Was there music influence from the family?
No, which is funny. I don't know where that came from, my love for music. The only really musical memory I have with my family is jamming out to Party for Two by Shania Twain with my mom in the car. You probably have 1,000 repetitions of that from when I was younger. So that's my karaoke song anytime someone asks. I just whip that out, no problem.
And you're like a Swiss Army knife. You play the piano, the guitar, bass, keyboard, drum, violin. Did all of those just arrive at once, or did one instrument pull you towards another?
More like pulling towards one another. I'd say we had a piano in the house, so that was just a natural self-discovery of just being around that. Then I moved on to the guitar, and then from that kind of an extension, just moved on to the bass. And then I discovered drums. I will say my older brother, who's 5 years older than me, he did start playing the drums before I did. Made me a little bit jealous, and I wanted to pick that up as well, so I started learning that. He was inspiring.
And if that wasn't enough, you were also doing some voice acting. I understand you worked as one of the many characters in My Little Pony. Now, a voice actor friend of mine, the late Jan Rabson, he played the part of the cook, Mulia Mild. What do you remember about voice acting at such a young age?
I've been voice acting for such a long time, ever since I was 6 years old. I think my agent reached out to me. So it was around the time I started playing music as well that kind of stuff started picking up. So I think what I've learned about everything from voice acting is to use your range and voice as an instrument, because there's so much you can do with just your built-in voice. Whether you go high or go low, or if it's raspy or clear, then it brings out such a different emotion, and that applies to music and songwriting and singing as well, to where if you have a really dramatic moment, you might want to hit that with some rasp or whatever. So it taught me how to use a lot of range, and now that I work with all these people as well for collaboration, it teaches me a lot about just being in a studio environment and being comfortable guiding somebody and getting what I want out of them. I'm grateful to have that experience alongside the music.
As if that wasn't enough, you've also appeared in some Hallmark movies, Summer of Dreams and Wedding of Dreams.
Yeah. 2 Hallmark movies. I had a short little period when I was doing some acting here in Vancouver. That was fun. I met Debbie Gibson, who is an amazing mentor of mine and an awesome collaborator. Those 2 movies are fun to go back on and watch. I haven't watched them recently, so I should probably go back and see how they hold up, but that was fun.
Didn't you produce an album for Debbie Gibson?
I did. We've had such an amazing relationship, her and I. It's going on probably 10 years now of this amazing collaboration. I met her on the set of the first movie where she played my music teacher and I was her music student. I did a little song for the movie, and then it just grew organically. We ended up working on a few songs, and then that turned into an album. And now it's been countless performances with her. I think we were going on 2 albums, and we're working on a bunch more stuff right now. So every day she inspires me, and I just keep wanting to learn more and more about the industry. She's an amazing resource for that.
Now, how old were you when you produced that album for Debbie Gibson?
I started when I was 17, when I started producing her first album with her.
Most of us are still fumbling with how to drive a car.
I was fumbling as well on how to drive a car. It was just both at the same time were happening, yeah.
And Debbie had been around for quite a while, so what was the yin and yang of a 17-year-old producing an album for somebody who'd been in the industry that long?
It's a cool dynamic, and I think there's a lot to learn from each other. I bring something that is more of a youthful and modern approach to this songwriting collaboration with production, and obviously she brings all the experience and wisdom of being around for that long. Yeah, it's nice to have those 2 processes come together to see what can come out of that. And some of the ways I think that I have shown my ability here is with this new kind of modern day technology. I mean, you don't really have to have a studio anymore, so you can just record anywhere you want, which is so freeing with a laptop or a microphone or whatever. So it's nice to kind of have that freedom and flexibility when I'm working with these people, and to show them that you can make anything, anywhere, anytime you have an idea.
You were working with Debbie during her Las Vegas residency as her music director and playing in the band as well, while you were trying to finish your Berkeley degree online. That's a lot going on.
Yes, it is. I remember I would go to rehearsal, I would come back to the hotel, and then we'd do a show at the Venetian, which was a gorgeous theater and an amazing first experience to have as a musical director to be performing there. And then I would go back to the hotel and my assignment would be due, and I would get out my keyboard and have to do some playing and send that in. Yeah, it's fun to have that real world application of actually doing the thing you're studying. And I'm lucky that kind of happened at the same time, to where I was learning and then I was able to apply everything I was learning.
And what was it like to live and work in Las Vegas at such a young age?
So cool. I remember I was 19 years old at the time, and I first got to the hotel room and they were offering a complimentary bottle of wine, and I went, no, I'm not old, which I don't know if that was a cool thing or not, but I'm too honest. That was really fun. Such an amazing experience working with those musicians, and obviously that's where I got to meet and work with Joey McIntyre for the first time, so I'm very fond of all those memories.
Now, when I was a fairly young broadcaster, there was this new group called New Kids on the Block, and there was right around the same time the New Edition, and you have worked with both of them on their U.S. tours.
I know, so crazy. I'm so fortunate for both of those experiences and relationships that I've been able to grow with them. They're amazing, and just picking their brains about everything from what it's like to tour, to make a record, to business side of things. And it's not often where I think someone can have a relationship with someone that's been around for that long in the industry that they want to kind of work in. It's amazing.
When you're working with artists who have been around for 40 years or more, how do you balance what they want while still bringing something genuinely new as a youngster, comparatively speaking? Is there a line? Do you cross it?
That's a good question. I think my approach to making music is to put on a mask and not think about what I want, but to help them convey whatever message that they're trying to get out as clearly and as authentic to them as possible, if that makes sense. When I'm in a writing session or doing a production for something, I'll often just take a back seat or even just keep asking questions until they bring it out themselves, because I feel like it's one thing for me to suggest ideas and things that they could do, but when it comes from them and it's an idea that they thought of, it's more inspired. And I think people like that, they're just more inclined to want to push that message out. So I'm always looking for ways to bring out their own voice.
You've spent years making other people's music sound extraordinary. Now you're doing your own thing.
I know. It's cool to finally get back to it. I started out honing in my craft, I guess you could say, and doing my own thing. And then it's been this amazing couple past years branching out into working with all these people. Now that I'm home a little bit more, I have some more time. It's nice to get back and start writing and applying everything I've learned with working with all these people and applying it towards my own music.
Better, that's the name of the song. You wrote, produced, recorded, and mixed entirely yourself in an era where pop records usually involve huge teams of writers and engineers and producers, and you alluded to it by saying that, if you have a laptop, you can record something. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Paul McCartney many years ago in an album he did called Coming Up, where he wrote all the music and played all the instruments.
Talk about a talent. Holy. I got to see him live a couple of years ago. That was a crazy thing when he came to Vancouver. So he's inspiring for sure. When it comes to my own music and with Better as well, it's more about, again, wanting my own voice to come out as much as I can possibly make it come out. And I try to keep it acoustic as much as I can when I'm writing the song. I won't put anything on the laptop or in the recording software until I think it's fully ready to go. I spend a lot of time just focusing on the writing, and then I'll move into production. I've just fallen in love with every step of the process, from mixing to production to songwriting. It's all takes a different part of my brain, and it's fun to try and figure out. And I think the results of all of those things, keeping it internal, is something that feels really true to myself and authentic. So it's a cool process.
Is this with a label or is this independent?
Independent for now. I'm looking at how that would apply to me. I think a lot of the perks of a record label are offering funds for hiring people to produce your music and for mixing costs and everything. That's another benefit of keeping everything in-house, is that you don't have a lot of that overhead as you would with all of these other people going that record label route. So yeah, just keeping it independent for now and thinking about how some outside help could maybe help with distribution and marketing and stuff like that.
There's a mini boom in Vancouver right now on vinyl. Are you pressing this on vinyl as well?
I am actually looking into that. I'm focusing on doing an EP right now. I have been looking at cutting some vinyl, and that would be really cool to have that. And definitely the vinyl boom has been cool to watch. I just set up my record player actually back there. And I just got, speaking of Paul McCartney and the Beatles, some old records, some authentic from the 60s and 70s from my aunt. So that was really cool.
It's good music.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I was there for it.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same. Man, I just have to relive it.
Growing up in Vancouver, I understand you have a choir background.
I was classically trained in choir for about 10 years. That was such a fun experience. And it's also fun growing up being the only boy in a choir. That's not a bad perk of that. That was such an amazing experience, just kind of learning that classical route of reading music. And I think that shaped a lot of the music I like to listen to even now. I love the human voice, and any classical music that comes on, I'm a big fan.
On the song Better, you stacked more than 100 background vocal layers, choir style. Can you walk us through what that actually sounds like inside the studio? Like, how do you build something that big?
That came from this room in my studio. I set up 2 microphones left and right of the room, and I went back to the door over there, and you just start acting like different people in a choir. You put on, speaking of voice acting, different accents, different ages. I would try and go super high and be a woman, not like this, all of that stuff. And then it's just about moving around the room and shaping the choir kind of one by one as you go along. And it's a remarkable result to go back after, 4 hours of recording a 20-second chorus and listening to that wall of sound and knowing that it's just you in a room. And it's pretty cool what's possible nowadays with modern recording.
Tell us about the song Better, Sean.
That one was a really fun one to write. It starts on the acoustic guitar as soon as you click play, and that's how I wrote it, just sitting down, just strumming my acoustic. I got this new, smaller acoustic guitar that I had tuned to where if you just kind of leave all the strings open and you do a strum, it just plays a perfect major D chord. So that's how I wrote it on that tuning, and it was inspiring, just thinking about a lot of the people in my life that make me feel like I'm a better version of myself, and I hope when people listen, it does the same to them.
Put up a fight, left to pick the pieces up one too many times, till you showed what it's like, gave the kind of love I've missed all my life. So lock me up and throw away the key, 'cause baby, that's something that I'll never need. Oh, I'm trying to hold on forever, 'cause when I hold you, oh, nothing feels better. And every moment I want another, so I'll keep on chasing, 'cause nothing feels better than you. All of those times thinking this was something I'd never find, but with you by my side, oh, I'm done with looking back, I'm waving the past goodbye. Whoa, so lock me up and throw away the key, 'cause I'm never leaving as long as it's you and me. Oh, I'm trying to hold on forever, 'cause when I hold you, oh, nothing feels better. And every moment I want another, so I'll keep on chasing, 'cause nothing feels better than you. Nothing feels better. Nothing feels better. Older, I'll still remember These nights when I hold you and dance like we'll never let go. And every moment, oh, I want another. So I'll keep on chasing, 'cause nothing feels better than you. Nothing feels better. Nothing feels better.
Sean, you're Vancouver born. You've worked in Las Vegas. You've worked all over the world, really. And you're building something with an unmistakable global sound, as we just heard. Better. It's big. It's really big. How does being Canadian shape your identity as an artist?
I love that question. I'm so proud to come from where I am and to be Canadian and to represent that wherever I go. I mean, there's so many Canadian artists that inspire me and inspire a lot of what being shaped as the modern sound right now, with Justin Bieber and The Weeknd and Drake and just those big people to name. And then, you know, you have all these amazing musicians as well. Tyler Shaw out of Toronto and Michael Bublé over here. There's so many amazing Canadian musicians and talent. I'm inspired by all of them. I did busk for a few years on Granville Island here in Vancouver, and to just walk around that place and to meet all the other musicians and to discover some of these talents that these people have, it's really cool. And it's something that I take with me wherever I go, if I'm traveling outside of Canada into the world.
Speaking of wherever you go, will you be on the island this summer? I know that you've been here on vacation many times.
The island's such a beautiful place, and I've been lucky to go and to visit. I'm looking at a few performance opportunities, and some of them are on the island. So maybe later this year, I might be taking the ferry trip over. We'll see.
Well, I wanted to go back to something. As a teenager, you founded a program called Kids Can Help that raised over $100,000 for the oncology department at the BC Children's Hospital. And you also co-founded a program called Music for Hope, which was for mental health awareness. Those are pretty significant commitments for a youngster. How old were you when you created those programs, and what was the catalyst?
Thank you very much. It's actually not something I get to talk about very often, so it's cool to hear it brought up. I was inspired to start Kids Can Help when I was 11 years old, around the time when I wrote my first song, Your Love. That was when my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. It just inspired me, just thinking to myself at that age, even though I'm a kid, I think there's ways in which I can help this world and bring some inspiration. So I founded a program. Through fundraising and through a lot of hard work, we ended up growing it to around 30 members around the local Vancouver community. We'd have fundraisers every year doing talent shows and silent auctions and coin driving outside of grocery stores. And we were all just really determined kids. And it was really inspiring to grow up around that time and to see all of your friends working towards this amazing goal of helping these kids at the oncology department. It's something I get to look back on and be so proud of, to say that we raised over $100,000 for the BC Children's Hospital. And it's definitely something I want to incorporate with me as I bring along with all my shows, finding a way to give back and to share with all the success I've been having. So definitely I wanted to get back to that. And then Music for Hope you brought up, man, blast from the past. That's so fun. I met my co-founder for that organization, Gen Katagiri, actually through an open mic night. So music brought us together. We had this amazing kind of run of a couple annual showcase nights, showcasing local talent here in Langley and Vancouver. And just some of the funnest experiences and memories I look back on while knowing that we were making a difference and helping other people too.
Very Canadian.
Definitely. Yeah, it's in our blood for sure.
Now, you said you may be doing some touring later this year?
I'm looking at a bunch of performances. I'm just in the middle of wrapping this recording project up. And once I have that out, then I'm going to start getting out there and showing off all the work I've been working on. So I'm excited for sure.
Now, this isn't busking. This is going to be in bigger venues, yes?
Yes, yeah, for sure. No, there's nothing against busking, though. I'd love to do that again and maybe some street performances. That'd be cool. Funny, just thinking about it. Last year, I was working with Joey McIntyre on his album in January 24, I think was the release date. And we were out in Boston just doing some promo. And we just set up in this really cold day in Boston. And it wasn't snowing, but it was really freezing. My hands were ice cubes as I was strumming the guitar, but we were just playing some of the songs in Boston. That was a really fun time.
Sean, I want to thank you for your time today. You've been quite generous with it.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. I really appreciate all these questions.
Before we go, I have a question. what would you want someone to know who's never heard of Sean Thomas to know about you after they listen to Better for the first time?
I want them to be reassured that there's people in this world that love them. And I think everyone is unique and special in this world and has something to offer. When they listen, I just want them to feel inspired.
Sean Thomas, what a talent and what a story. Co-producing an album for Debbie Gibson at age 20 while finishing music school and now stepping out on his own terms. You'll find links to Sean's music in our story notes at thepulsecommunity.ca.
You'll also find links to our Skookum Kid Stories with Captain Dave and the crew of the Mellow Submarine, and Peter and Gracie the Eskimo Dog. To add to the fun, we now offer coloring pages to go along with each new episode.
This week, Peter and Gracie solve the mystery of the missing socks. I can't wait to hear how that one turns out. Maybe I can find some closure in my own life. Speaking of laundry closure, of course. Honestly, this is one of life's great mysteries, so I hope Peter and Gracie figure it out.
And our Radio Archaeology Classic Radio series features original episodes of Dragnet with Sergeant Joe Friday and Gunsmoke with Marshal Matt Dillon.
I should add that both of those wonderful old radio programs feature characters dashing into situations with certain danger, not something I can condone or recommend. In my book, when you're facing possible danger, go home, sleep on it, then get up the next day, live life normally, and then repeat. That's it. You're getting all my best advice here.
We're pleased to have Cindy Thompson of Parksville contributing to the Pulse podcast family with the Resilience Project. This week, Lindsay Scollin reflects on how mental illness quietly eroded her confidence as a first-year UVic student and how she found her way back to resilience.
My hat is off to all those with the courage to share stories as personal as that. I'm looking forward to hearing that program. Then we have Parksville counselors Joel Grenz and Sean Wood. They present Nonpartisan Hacks, which takes listeners behind the scenes of municipal advocacy work that directly impacts Vancouver Island taxpayers.
You'll find these podcasts and more at thepulsecommunity.ca. While you're there, sign up for our weekly newsletter to stay up to date on the latest podcasts, guests, and contests.
Oh, such good prizes, too. Hey, Peter, you sure we don't have any, extra tickets lying around someplace?
For the 8th time, no. We're giving away all the tickets that we have.
Yeah, but are you sure? Just check once more, will you? Oh, hey, before we go, I want to play a little something I created. I've been the DJ for the sand sculpting contest as part of Parksville Beach Festival for years now. Sat down the other evening and recorded an entire song by myself. Okay, not quite. I wrote a song and then told an AI song generator to come up with something really catchy. I hope you'll agree that this is what that is. Here's a portion of the result.
Welcome to Beach Fest. Yeah, this is Beach Fest. Yeah, there's nothing else like it. You know that it's best. We got a bunch of artists in this bed of sand by the sea. They're pounding grace together and taking away what shouldn't be. At the end of 30 hours, they will be done. What will we see? Eh? They're working to the theme. Could be beauties, could be beasts. Welcome to Beach Fest. Yeah, this is Beach Fest.
Okay, there you go. A portion of music written for the Parksville Beach Festival with the theme for the sand sculpting competition being Beauties and Beasts. And the countdown is on to the kickoff in July. Honestly, this is one of the highlights of my whole life, frankly. We'll have Festival Society President Cheryl Dill on the podcast soon. So, Peter, what did you think of my song?
You wrote the lyrics? Your spelling is really good.
Well, I say, look out, Bruno Mars, except I don't really sing and I really don't dance. Other than that, watch out, world. Hey, I'm going to need a stage name.
Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. We hope you're able to get out and enjoy this beautiful island of ours.
And don't be ashamed if you get frightened by a robin. They can be very aggressive looking. Now, maybe I should go by just, one name, like Madonna. No, I don't mean literally Madonna. That one's taken, I know. I've always liked the name Nigel. What do you think of Leopold? No, don't answer. I can see it on your face. Melvin. Oliver? Casper? No, that's a ghost. Dave. Actually, that's not a bad name. Dave.
Here come Peter, here comes Dave. Oh, listen. Bringing stories, making waves. No missing. Spinning tales in the podcast cave. So laughs and insights everywhere. What a treat. Peter and Dave, they're on the mics all right. Join the ride, it's gonna feel just right.